Welcome back to another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful basque built up draped gown with puff sleeves. Here are my beautiful pleats. I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to making these beautiful pleats. You can see the built up collar fitting so beautifully well. This is what the back looks like. So the back has a slit at the back and it has puff sleeves as well. So this dress is actually very gorgeous and beautiful. I will be sharing with you tips and tricks to making this beautiful dress. Use the way it fits me right here accurately. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. Thank you. First, you have to come down by 3 inches for your built up collar neckline. I'll rule that line as my starting line. Place your tape on the starting line. Take your chest measurement, bust point, under bust, waist. 5 inches below your waist is your back line. Your hip line. You measure 4 inches above your knee line. After your knee line, you are going to take the full length. So the full length I'm using is 60 inches, but I added 2 inches to it for hemming allowance and also to wear a heel, making it 62 inches. So I'll take that lines again from the chest line all the way down. Here is my shoulder line, my chest line, bust point, under bust, waistline, basque line, my hip line, my knee line, and finally the full length and the 2 inches I added for the full length because of my heel and seam allowance. Next is the neck width. For the neck width, you are going to use your bust circumference divide by 12. Mine gave me 3.25. So I marked 3.25 on the neckline and marked on top of the 3 inches too. Now I'm going to take my shoulder divide by 2 on the shoulder line and on the chest line. I'll come down by 1 inch and connect my slanted line. Mark a straight line for my armhole. I'm going to get the midpoint of my armhole. I'll go in by 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch. On the chest line, I'm going to mark my bust circumference divide by 4 and connect my full armhole line. Next, I'm going over to my waistline. You are going to mark your waist circumference divide by 4 and mark. Next, we'll go over to the hip circumference. You are going to mark your hip circumference divide by 4. Whatever you have on the hip, please take away 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches from it and mark on the knee line. I'm going to take what I have on the knee line to the hem line. Now we are going to connect a straight line all the way from that point, from the knee to the hem line, just like you draft in a pencil sketch. Next, you are going to come over to the bust point and take your nipple to nipple measurement. Mark it on the waistline and mark your nipple to nipple measurement on the hip line. Nipple to nipple divide by 2. Okay, that is your bust span divide by 2. Then you rule a straight line for your dart leg. On the waistline, I'm going to mark my dart of 0.75, 0.75, which is 1.5 inches in total. Then I'll connect my dart and connect it back again. Next, we are going to replace that 1.5 inches dart on the side. Please don't forget to replace it before you close up the sides. Then I'm going to connect from the waist to the hip line. Connect from the hip to the knee line the way I connected. So my full gown bodice is ready. So we'll come over to the built up collar. I'm going to go up by 1.75 on both sides. 1.75 is the height of this built up collar. I am going to mark a dotted line on it. We are drafting the front piece. On the shoulder slant, go out by 1/2 inch, and on the dotted line, come in by 1/2 inch. We will use it to connect that curvy built-up neckline, seam line. So after connecting that, we are going to come down by 7.5 inches for the neck depth. My neck depth is 7.5 inches, and you can see where I took the measurement from the shoulder line. Next, I'm going to use my pattern ruler. See how I inverted it to mark the built-up collar neckline. After that, I just want to adjust the neckline. Okay, it needs to touch that slanted line. That is just a little adjustment. Next, we are going to come over for the princess dart. From your shoulder, you measure 3 inches downwards and connect the 3 inches all the way to the bust point, the way you see me do right now. I'm going to also come down by 1 inch on the princess dart. That is the princess dart line. Then I'll come out by 1 inch again to replace it. 1 inch to replace the 1 inch I came down from. Then reconnect the armhole. After that, we are going to create our bust dart. I just want to use a bust dart for this, but if you want a common princess dart, just go ahead and cut the way it is right now. But I love to use a bustier for dresses like this in case you are on a plus size. So my bust dart is 2 inches, and I've connected my bust dart right there. Of course, you know how to connect your bust dart. Next, on the under bust, you will take your under bust circumference, divide by 4, whatever remaining, add 0.25 in front and the rest by the side. That is the way I like to contour my under bust, but you can use any method of under bust contouring you are used to. It will give you the same result. Now I'm going to connect from that center front all the way all the way to the hip line, like that. So these are the darts I'm going to cut off, which will give me that beautiful bustier you saw at the beginning of this tutorial on this dress. Waistline, come down by 2 inches on the waistline. We want to create the basque. Then come down from the basque line by 1 inch. Then connect that basque line. This is the skirt piece right now. The back has separated the skirt and the upper piece. To dive into the back drafting, so I'm going to extend all the lines we need. So you need your shoulder line, your chest line. You don't need bust point and under bust. Next is your waistline, but note that this waistline for the front will be shorter by 2 inches. Okay, the back length is shorter because of the bust dart technique. So I'll mark 2 inches above the original waistline for the front. The back line I'll also mark 2 inches above. In fact, all the lines will go up by 2 inches. All the lines will go up by 2 inches because of the bust dart technique. So by the time we close up the bust dart, every line will move to its normal position. So the hip line I came up by 2 inches. The line I came up by 2 inches also. Like I said, every other line will come up by 2 inches. Begin to draft the back pattern piece right now. So we are going to go in by the neck width, which we use for the front. Mine is 3.25. Then I'll mark a straight line to the shoulder. That is the neck width. Next is your shoulder divide by 2. You mark it on the shoulder line and on the chest line. Come down by 1 inch for your neck depth, the slant line, and draw a straight line for your armhole. We'll get the midpoint of our armhole and come in by 0.5 inches. Then we are going to draw a slanted line to it. Then on the bust line, take your bust circumference, divide by 4. Connect the armhole line. Next, we are going to go over to the waistline. Measure your waist circumference, divide by 4 on the waistline. Midpoint of that you marked, the midpoint. Measure the midpoint on the chest line. And also measure that midpoint on the hip line. So we are going to use whatever we got at the midpoint of that waistline on the hip line. Then connect our dart leg. So I'll rule a straight line for the dart. So the dart is, I will come down by 1 inch from the chest line and come up by 1 inch on the hip line. Then the dart width is 1 inch. I share half inch for it. Then we are going to connect our darts accordingly. I'll also take my dart all the way down. Alright, so I'm going to replace that 1 inch on this side, as you can see, for the dart. Then we are contouring the back because it has a zipper and a slit. So I'll come in by 1 inch at the waistline for my zip contour line and connect to the neckline and on the hip line. So I'm cutting off that contour line. Please replace the 1 inch of zipper on the side. Replace on the chest line too. Whatever you measure that went off, replace all of them and connect. Then on the hip line, I'll measure my hip circumference divide by 4. I'm going to mark and then connect accordingly. You will go over to this front piece and measure what you have on the knee line. Whatever measurement you have, that is what we'll use for the back knee. But meanwhile, you come in by 1 inch for the contour bum illusion. Okay, we call it bum illusion. So after connecting that point, you can see the bum shape right there. Over to the hemline, measure 1 inch inwards on the hemline and then connect that 1 inch all the way to the 1 inch on the knee line, which we use to contour for the bum illusion. So the shaded part, we are cutting it off at the center back to give a very beautiful shape at the back. Take the measurement you have on that knee line for the front, which we measured earlier, and mark the same measurement on the back knee line. Then we are going to connect to the hip line as you see me do right there. Then we'll go over to the hemline, pick what you have on the same knee line, take it to the hemline. So we are going to mark that same measurement there. We are going to connect with a straight line all the way down. So what we are drafting here is our pencil gown. So we are going to mark 1.75 inch up on both sides for the built-up collar for the back. Then I'm going to go out on the seam line by half an inch, and on that line come in by half an inch like we did for the front and connect accordingly. So you are going to connect it all the way to touch the slanted line. Then come down by half an inch to give that neckline a little curve. So you can see. Then I'm going to rule my line completely. So we are taking off that curve. Now we want to connect the princess back dart for the back at the mid armhole line. Then I'll come out by half an inch to accommodate the armhole line. On the waistline for the front, remember we came down by 2 inches for the basque. Then on the waistline for the back, we'll come down by 2 inches again. So the 2 inches will be able to match the back line when we are sewing it. So from the back waistline, come down by 2 inches. I use dotted lines for it, okay? Now we have separated the skirt piece and the upper piece for the back. So this is the back skirt piece and the upper piece. We'll begin to cut our pattern accordingly. So I want you to see how I'm cutting my piece. I'm showing the cutting in details, so you will know which line to cut and which not to cut. Cutting all the way down. All the lines I marked there, I'm going to cut them. So I'm taking off the contour line. So I'm taking everything down. Next, we'll go over to cut the dart from the princess dart. For the princess dart, I want to cut out separate the front, the upper and the lower piece. So here is the skirt piece. I'm going to the down part. I'll set it aside for the down piece. This is B1, B2 for the back. That is the back piece. Now we are going to continue to cut the upper piece where we have the princess dart. So this is what your pattern is expected to look like. This is the zipper point. Make sure you label them very well. The down piece, here is the zipper part and this is the side. I'm going to transfer these darts. Whatever measurement you get on this dart, take it to the side. We are going to take it off. Unless you want to hold a dart for your dress, but I'm not holding any dart for this dress. Okay, if you want to hold a dart, no problem. I'm taking off my dart on the side and I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so it does not affect anything whether you hold a dart or not. So I've taken off that dart right now. So this is my waistline, and I'm going to set this pattern aside. Here is the slit line. Okay, and that is the center back. So we'll keep the pattern for cutting. Move over to the cutting of the front pattern. So you can see how I'm cutting the neckline. I will cut the shoulder seam line accordingly. I will continue cutting all the way down. Okay, that is the princess dart. I'll cut through the armhole, then cut off my princess dart. Okay, we are taking the bust dart from there to the side all the way down. So we are done cutting that side. Then we are going to separate the back line. We'll keep the down part of this skirt for our slash and spread, and then we are going to use the upper part, cut the upper part dart now so we can prepare the bustier. Here you can see me cutting the darts, and then we are going to close up the bust dart too. So I'll go in with my adhesive right now to close up my bust dart. Bust dart is closed and the pattern is ready. So we are going to, this is F1 and F2. We'll set it aside and the center front will be on fold while we cut on fabric. So we want to jump into the slash and spread right now to create that pleat. So to create the slash and spread, which is the most important part of this tutorial, I'll first come in by 1 inch at the center front. Then I'm going to measure 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches. Okay, you can measure 2.5 inches if you're on a small size, or you can measure 3.5 inches if you're on a bigger size. It depends on how big your waistline is. Okay, I'm going to transfer this particular dart. So you take the length of the dart, whatever measurement you have, please keep that measurement. We'll begin to connect the upper part to the side. Okay, that is the pleating we are going to make for this dress. So on those 3 inches I marked, I will take the lines parallel. Okay, it has to be equal to the side. So as you are moving your ruler, it has to be equal. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we are going to slash them right now. Before we slash, we are going to transfer the dart. So the width of the dart remains where it is. Then we are going to mark the length of the original dart to the transferred dart line. Then we connect it. I want you to see how I'm connecting it back to that line. So that is the new dart line. So we are going to slash open this pattern right now. We'll go ahead to open up the lines accordingly. So when you get to the side, please don't cut it out. You can see how I'm doing that. Coming over to the dart, I'll cut out the dart first. Okay, so the dart is not part of it. We'll take it out. Then we'll cut all the way. That is how I'm going to cut the rest of them. So here you can see I'm done cutting out my patterns. So I'm going to get my brown pattern paper now for the pleating. So I place my paper below. I want you to take note that the center front has to be gummed at the center front. Make sure it is straight because this is a pencil skirt. So that part has to be what? Straight. we are going to take the length of our pleat. So I'm using 6 inches for the length of my pleat. So if you want your pleat bolder, you can use 8 inches. But I think 6 inches is good, so we'll just mark 6 inches. So from that point, after the 1 inch on the pepper, on the brown pepper is the pleating allowance. After marking the 6 inches, next you are going to put your adhesive or sellotape or whatever you want to use and fix number 2. So the number 2 pepper, you are going to gum it the way you see me do right there. After that is done, we are going to measure another 6 inches. So I'll keep repeating this process until I slash or spread all of the white pepper on the brown pepper. I've gradually come to the end of it. So the last one, I'll measure the same 6 inches and repeat the same thing all the way down. After slashing and spreading, next we will begin to pleat in the brown pepper into the white pepper. So like I said, the brown piece we slashed open is the pleating allowance. To get the midpoint, okay, the midpoint of the 6 inches is 3 inches. On all of them, we'll get the midpoint. So that midpoint, we are going to use it to pleat it. So to pleat it, you pick up the midpoint, make sure they match the way you see me do. Then we'll now open it that way. Okay, so you spread it the way you see me do. So this is the pattern we are using for all of them. I will use the second pleat to show you how we'll pleat this perfectly. First you will do is to pick up the white pepper at both ends, join them together and secure with your pin. Then that center part, you just go ahead and spread that center, making sure the center is at that pinpoint. So that is how we are going to pleat it. So this pleating has to be done on paper first. You can see what I have of the first and the second, or else it will not give you that exact shape on fabric. So here is the midpoint of the 6 inches. I'm still showing you how I pleated it, and that is how you are going to use pleat for all. First, you have to make sure you match the white peppers. Pick it up at the center the way you see me do. Secure with your pins. Join the white parts together first, then spread the center part. Okay, so that center part has to be on that pinpoint. Don't worry, when we get to the fabric, you understand. So I will take the last one. You see how I did that. I have to hold it at the center all the way down, secure with my pin the white piece, then make sure that point, the center point, is spread to touch the pin point. So that is it for all of them. Now I'm going to also pin the pleats. Make sure you pin them or else they will scatter. You pin them on their sides. Okay, if you have enough pin, just keep pinning them. So we are done right now. If you turn the back, this is how your back has to look like. It has a kissing pleat at the back and a box pleat in front. Now we are going to cut it out. So to cut it out, I'm going to be careful. I'm cutting from the side. I'll take the cutting all the way from the side, as you can see. Then coming over to the waistline, I'll just follow the white lines. Make sure you raise it up a little bit to get the white lines. Okay, so you can see how I'm cutting. After cutting, go ahead and open up. You go ahead and take off the pins. We are going to open up the pleating so we can cut it on fabric and then pleat it back. So I'll spread it all the way open, then place on my fabric. I kept opening it up so we can place it on the fabric. So here is my fabric Ankara. I am going to fold it right now. So I folded the first 2 yards and I've cut it out, adding my side seam allowance of 1.5 inches on the side. And I also cut the pencil skirt piece. Okay, so I added 1.5 inch for the zipper and 1.5 inch on this side. So here I brought back my pattern. We are going to make our notches. Please, I cut the lining too. So you are going to cut your lining the same way you cut your Ankara fabric. Then begin to make notches. You make notches at the center. You make notches at the white point. Of course, when you look at what I'm doing, you understand where I'm making my notches. At that center point, on the edge of the white piece on both sides. The center point we mark for our pleats. So I keep making those notches. So these notches are going to help you to pleat in this dress after we are done. So I've finished making the notches. After the notches, we'll take off the pattern. So you can keep this pattern, okay, to work for another time. So I'm going to open up the fabric piece. I kept the lining, open up the fabric, the wrong side of your fabric. We are going to place the fabric right side to the lining right side. So we are going to stitch all around with 1/2 inch. But meanwhile, we are going to stitch the down part first with 1/2 inch. Don't forget to reduce your lining before you stitch. I'm reducing my lining by 1 inch. So the lining has to be shorter by 1 inch. I'm going to lay the lining now. We will lay it right side to right side. And I'm going to stitch the down part. Okay, so the down part, you stitch it first with 1/2 inch after you have reduced the lining. After that, I went ahead to top stitch. Now this is what the down piece looks like. So I'm going to flip it to the right side again and sew the size with 1/2 inch. I'll sew my size with 1/2 inch. I'm done stitching and this is what I got. So I'm going to open it up from the upper piece. So the upper piece, there's no stitches to it, remember. That is where we are going to turn the whole of it from. Next, I'm going to iron, as you see me do right here. So I've given it a good press. So I've turned everything inside out. Here is the upper part of this dress. So I'm going to stitch on top of it the lining and the fabric to hold them as one piece. After stitching, I'll bring back my pattern to make sure my notches are in the right place before we begin to pleat. So they are in the right place. So I will pick it up from the center just like we did on paper. And make sure the direction is towards the side. So I'm going to pin it this way. So now you are going to understand how the pleating is made. So that center point you notched, make sure it touches the pin point. Okay, the pin point, and you keep spreading till you get to nothing. You can see what I have there. So I'm going to pin it. I'll pin it on both sides of the pleating. Then I'm going to take the second one now. I'm going to repeat the same thing. Pin first, then the center point, you spread it open and pin on the pin point and pin on the two sides. So that is the pattern I will use for pleating in all of them now. So I will keep ironing them. The more I pleat, the more I iron. I'm going to pick up the next one. You pick at the center, secure with your pin, and then that center front midpoint, you spread it open again at the pin point and then pin at the edges. Then you iron. So that is what I'm going to do for the rest of the pleat. So I'm done on one side. I'm starting from the other side too. So I'll keep repeating what I did the other way till I get to the end of it. After I was done, this is my pleating. So the pleating is ready. I'll just go and top stitch on top of it. To go ahead to sew the back piece. So the back piece I cut lining equally too. Of course, you know how to sew your pencil skirt with lining. So I'm going to take off my pattern piece, but make sure you notch the zipper part because the both sides looks alike. So I'll notch the zipper point now and then take off my pattern. So it will be easy for me to note the center back, and I added 1.5 inch on the side and 1.5 inch on the zipper line like I did on the other side. So you get the wrong sides of this. We are going to lay the fabric now, but before that, reduce the lining by 1 inch. Remember, I reduced my lining by 1 inch. Now I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch and top stitch. Done with the back piece, I've stitched everything inside out, leaving the upper part open too. So what I did was to stitch the lining and the fabric together, and I still have my notches. We'll put the two sides of the back together at the zipper point. Then I will take the zip measurement and stitch the back. So I'll stitch at 1 inch, then leave the slit opening at my knee line. So at that knee line, that's where my slit will stop. So I'm going to sew 1 inch now. So here you can see what I got right here. This is my slit. So I just stitch like a vent slit, okay? I will use my hemming gum to seal that part up or tack it up. So the back piece is ready. I will set it aside. We are going to cut the patterns for the front right now. So I'll grab my fabric and start cutting. We'll start from the center front. So here I placed my fabric. You can hairstyle your fabric if you want, but for this project I did not hairstyle. So this is how I'm going to add my 1/2 inch. So I want you to watch and see the technique of adding 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch all around your neckline. So I'll go all the way and cut. Kept cutting 1/2 inch like that. Of course, you know how to add 1/2 inch on this side. That is that after I'm done. So I'm going to bring or make notches on the underbust first. So here are my patterns. I've cut them. The center front is on fold. I added 1.5 inch on the side seams. This is my main fabric. The zipper is 1.5 inch and the side is 1.5 inch. I made notches on the waistline for the back. So I'll begin to join the back pieces together. I took off my pattern and I kept picking them one after the other, matching them. I will stitch at 1/2 inch. The back piece is ready, as you can see. Both the lining and the fabric are ready. So we'll go over to create the bustier for the front. So here is my bustier. I've cut and added my necessary seam allowance. So I'll take off my pattern and place my wadding. The bustier is ready now. I've sewn and I've ironed it. So next we are going to lay the neckline right side to right. So I'm going to secure with my pins the way you see me do right here. So this part is really very sensitive. Make sure you get it appropriately. So I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch all the way. After stitching, I brought it back to notch. So the first part you notch is that V neckline. Please just notch at that V line like that, so it will be easy for you to top stitch. Now I'm going to flip all my seams to the lining and I'm going to top stitch all the way down. What I got right here. So I'll just chop off this excess I have, then give it a good press. The front dress is ready. So we'll move over to the back. So for the back, make sure you hairstyle the collar part to make it firm, or you hairstyle the whole dress. So I'm going to place it right side to right side, 2, and I'm going to stitch and top stitch. So this is what I got when I'm done top stitching the upper part. So we will bring the front piece and I want to show you how to wrap it up to stitch that neckline perfectly. So I brought the back piece right side to right side the way you see, and I'm going to place it this way. So you come up a little by 1/2 inch on that point. Next, you open up the lining, then secure with your pin at that edge. Then use the lining to wrap the rest 3 of them up. So we'll go over to the machine now to stitch 1/2 inch. After sewing, I will go ahead and chop off. So you chop off that excess, then turn it to the right side so you can see how clean the neckline looks. After sewing the neckline, we'll give it a good press. Then we'll begin to turn the lining and the fabric inside out. This is what I got once I'm done. Next, we will begin to sew the down piece. So I bring back the down piece and fuse it to the upper piece. So just go ahead and sew from the midpoint. After that, I will sew the back piece together. Next, we stitch our zipper. Here my zip is ready. Then we are going to match the size of the dress. So I'm going to stitch my seam allowance on this side. The dress is ready right now, so we'll begin to sew the sleeves, and these are my beautiful pleats right there. I cut my basic sleeve, that was what I did, at the elbow line. So my elbow line is 13 inches. Make notches at the center grain line and on the front sleeve. Mark the wrong side of the basic sleeve. The exaggerated part of the sleeve, I have 2 pieces right here. So the length is 45 and the width is 23. So I place it on fold. Then I'm going to make notches on it up and down. Place your basic sleeve on it. And we are going to measure 5 inches downwards. Then place your basic sleeve and connect accordingly. Connect all the way from that part to the upper part. Then we cut right away. So just go ahead and cut, and this is the exaggerated sleeve. So we'll place it right side to right side on the basic sleeve hemline. Then we are going to gather everything into it. This is what I got after I'm done gathering. So I'm going to place right side to right side and take my elbow measurement. So after shaping the sleeve, I'll go to the grain line and match them together this way, wrong side to wrong side, secure with my pin. And the seam line for the exaggerated sleeve and for the basic sleeve, I'll match them wrong side to wrong side too. We'll go and pleat on the basic sleeve armhole line. I'm going to start from the armhole, and as I move this excess, I'm going to pleat everything inside like this. So here is the sleeve is ready. Next, I'm going to sew it into the dress. After sewing into the dress, this is what I got. See, this dress looks very gorgeous and beautiful. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.